We can't always travel the world to seek out adventures, so our good friend Brian Keating does it for us. Brian, you're here today to tell us about a trip you recently made in Africa through Ethiopia in search of one elusive creature.
That's right, the Ethiopian wolf. And I put a video together, and we can go to that right now.
Sure.
I'll take you up into the Ethiopian highlands. This was a trip that, well, we used some donkeys. That's not the hay that we brought along. Those are some donkeys that I met along the way. But we went up into the highlands over what's known as the Bali Mountains. Yeah. We actually traversed right over the Bali Mountains, starting in the rainforest on the one side and going up into the highland, what they call Afro-Alpine. In the rainforest, we saw animals like this. It's a duiker, and this is actually a mountain nyala. It's only found in Ethiopia.
Really?
So it's an endemic antelope. It's absolutely beautiful. It looks like the kudu of the southern and lower elevation locations. Big trees, colobus monkeys up in those trees. That's one of my favorite black and white monkeys. Baboons down below. Here's a baboon with some amorous desires on the one baboon who decided to leave, and some lovely imagery of the baboons grooming. And this is one morning. There's my wife lying in bed looking at these guys looking
out
in
the
at
window.
us. This was a troop of baboons that
Who's
came
visiting
by.
who?
That's right. They obviously wanted a handout. We did not give them anything, but they persisted for quite some time. And then we started our trip, and here we are at the beginning of the trip. We had some breakfast visitors. I always like to invite some of my favorite pigs to breakfast.
Why not?
And so we had a little group of warthogs come in, and obviously there's no hunting in this area, so these warthogs were very at ease with our presence and quite curious about what we were doing there, I guess. And then we started the journey, and this is actually it's a type of owl that is also endemic to the area, and called the Abyssinian owl. And then there's always the mayhem that occurs before you start a trip, and we assembled all the horses gathered. We had 6 or 7 horses to carry our equipment for 10 days.
Some kids watching.
Of course, my wife pretending or showing them how to make noises using a grass blade as a whistle. And then we started. And we started going up, Ted. And we did a combination of walking and riding.
There you are.
Way to travel. Yeah, it was an exciting way to travel. And we got into some fantastic formations. These are ancient volcano lava flows. Some of the interesting botany, these are giant lobelia plants growing about 10 meters tall. And of course, we got to know our horses quite well over the 10 days of travel. We tented every night in paradise, essentially, and here we are looking at some finches right from the front door of our tent. And our cook was fantastic. He's making some traditional bread here. There's some of the horsemen watching on. And there's our guide, Ayuba. He was fantastic, a very experienced guide in the Bali Mountains of Ethiopia. And the food was pretty good. You know, the breakfast was the best meal of the day, I think. But we ate outside, and food always tastes better outside. But our objective,
Look
Ted,
at the view. Yeah,
our objective was to go. We're on the hunt for the Ethiopian wolf and look for the wolf. The Ethiopian wolf is the rarest canid in the world.
Is that it?
That's it right there. We saw 16 of them in our 10-day traverse of the mountains. And they're there to feed on these guys. There's 16 species of rodents with a biomass of some 2.5 tons per hectare.
Whoa.
That's the giant root rat of Ethiopia.
It looks very slow.
Very slow, and but it can go very fast too. But this is what they do to the landscape. They turn it into Swiss cheese. And this is the major predator, along with the birds of prey that are up there as well. So the Ethiopian wolf is a canid that's designed to eat rodents.
Okay. There you go. So you found the wolf. Where are you going next?
Well, actually, I've got a number of trips this year.
Okay.
I've got a number of trips this year.
Okay.
The first trip, which just has 4 spots opened up on it.
Yes.
It's been booked for a long time, but 4 people had to drop out for various reasons. Going to Alaska, off the coast, in a 75-foot sailboat to look for bubble net feeding humpback whales.
Bubble net feeding.
That's where the whales go down and they release air out of their air hole to push the herring into tight balls, and then they all erupt underneath at the same time. It's one of the most amazing sights in nature. I've seen it before on this trip, so I'm trying to repeat the process. I think we got about a 50% chance of seeing that behavior. 100% chance of seeing wolves, and probably 100% chance of seeing grizzly bears fishing for salmon.
Very cool.
So that's the first one, and then the next one, I've got a trip going to Kenya and Rwanda, seeing the best of both. Now, Kenya, of course, it's the Masai Mara. We're going to go right during the peak season of the wildebeest migration, and then into Rwanda to go and look for mountain gorillas. And then following that, I've got a trip up into Kenya, or into Tanzania, to climb Kilimanjaro.
Why not?
And that's through the Calgary Health Trust.
Oh, there you go. Good stuff. stuff. We'll put links on our website so you can contact Brian and find out how you can get involved if you want. Good to see you again, Brian. I'm glad you found the wolf.
Yeah, me too.
I'm glad you found the wolf. A guy who